almost complete with our header section to our card. We just have to get our image thumbnail to render for now. So remember, that image thumbnail is going to be just a little portrait of the artist who made this particular album. React Native provides built-in support for rendering images, and it works mostly like how normal image tags with HTML work. The React Native library has an image primitive just like the text and view primitives that we get. So in addition to text and view, we are also going to import an image tag as well. Then to make use of an image, or to actually place it, we'll use it just like normal JSX. So inside of my existing view tag, I'll add a reference to image. And of course, we also have to tell this image tag exactly what image we want it to render. So to tell an image what we want it to render, we need to pass it a source prop, or a prop named source. So we'll say source equals something. To this source reference right here, we have to provide an object with a URI property, and the URI must be a link to an actual image that React Native can reach out and download and show inside the application. So we'll place an object in here with a property of URI, and then right here, this is where we have to specify the actual address of the image that we want to show on the screen. Now, we need to figure out, of course, well, what link is that? How are we going to get that link? If we go back over to our album data, the data that we're actually working with for each individual album, recall that the image that we want to show for just that little thumbnail is available on the property thumbnail image. That means if we have reference in here, props.album.thumbnail image, it will be the link that we want to show. So we'll reference props.album.thumbnail image, like so. Cool. One thing I want to point out really quick here before we test this out in the browser, or I keep saying browser, you know what I mean, the simulator. Before we test this out in the simulator, I want you to take reference of the fact, or take notice that at this point in time, we've got 3 references to props.album throughout our code in this component right here. Whenever we start to get more than one reference to a prop out of our props object, or something out of our props object, it's always good convention to destructure that property out of our argument of props. So right now we're only making use of the album prop from the props object. So I'm going to destructure out of here the album object. And then on top of that, you'll notice that I'm referencing the album object 3 times as well. So it might make sense to also destructure out thumbnail image, title, and artist. Now when I'm further destructuring out of an argument object like this, I can do it one of 2 ways. I can either destructure directly from the argument itself and say give me the title and the artist, but that starts to get really long for my argument list up here. And so I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to destructure inside of the function body. So I'll say that I want my title, my artist, and my thumbnail image from the album object. Now inside of my JSX, I'm going to remove all the references to props.album. So I'll go down to just thumbnail image, just title, and just artist, like so. Okay, so that definitely cleans up our JSX a little bit. It certainly makes our method here a little bit more top heavy, you might say. But I find that this is usually a good approach whenever you start to make multiple references to your props object. Okay, went off the beaten path there just a little bit, but anyways, getting back on point, we've got our image tag in place right now, so we should be able to refresh our simulator and see the image pop up. So I'll refresh, and no success. Well, that's too bad. No image appears to pop up here. So this is a little gotcha with React Native and images. I mentioned earlier that images behave basically the same way as their HTML cousins, but that is really not quite true. When we use an image in React Native, the image will not expand to fill the space available to it by default. Instead, we have to manually add in a rule that tells the styling rule, that tells the image tag exactly how big the image should be. So again, the image technically is rendering here right now, but because we did not specify a height and a width for it, our image just appears to not exist. So to solve this, we must add a style for our image. So we'll flip on down to our styles object towards the bottom, and I'm going to add in another style property here that I'm going to call thumbnail style. And for thumbnail style, I'll give it a set height of 50 and a width of 50 as well. Now we're going to pass this thumbnail style directly to that image tag, and it should appear inside of our simulator as we would expect. Okay, so here's my image tag. I'm going to give this thing a new line just to make it a little bit more legible. So now I've got the opening image, some props, and the closing tag right here as well. Make sure that you did not lose the closing tag. Then we'll pass in a style of styles.thumbnail style. All right, so let's test this in the simulator again. I'll refresh, and now it appears that in fact we do have our image popping up. Perfect, so just what we expected. It does look a little bit creepy right now having 5 images in a row, but we'll fix it up as soon as we start adding in the other content for the each card in here. Trust me, it's going to start to look really nice. You'll also notice that our styling rules, or the justify content rule of space around, started to kick in now that the header has some additional width to it. So we've got some white space before, between, and after each text tag, and it's all evenly distributed at this point. So that's our justify content rule in action. Okay, one last little refactor I want to do in here. Along the same veins as destructuring from our props object to reduce the references to props and album, we're now making 2 references to the styles object in here as well. So this is an optional refactor. It's totally up to you. It's something that I personally like to do, but it's not a necessity. Because we are referencing styles twice here, I might also choose to destructure from the styles object as well. So I can optionally do thumbnail style and header content style. I'm going to destructure those from styles. And then inside of my style object, or my style props, I no longer need to reference the styles object. I can just say directly thumbnail style and also my header content style. So again, an optional refactor. It's something I really like to do, especially once I've got a lot of different styles floating around on the screen. Okay, so we're definitely making progress here. We've got our image popping up, but the styling, it's still a little bit off. So let's finish up on the styling in the next section.